So in this video, I just wanted to provide a very brief overview of the importance of ethics within engineering. I think whenever you're having an ethics and engineering discussion, it's important to center your conversation around the Code of Ethics for Engineers that's produced by the NSPE. And NSPE, again, is National Society of Professional Engineers. So reflecting back on some of the content that we've spoken of earlier, it is a professional society, and it consists of individuals predominantly that have pursued their professional engineering licensure. So these are licensed individuals. And remember that the reason that the majority of individuals obtain a professional engineering licensure is that they need to certify or stamp drawings to municipalities for large-scale civil engineering projects. So they are working naturally in application domains that are going to impact the well-being of a lot of people, and they're really, really expensive projects. So they usually have time overruns as well. So it's naturally an environment where you need a code of ethics in order to be able to balance the natural pressures and trade-offs that you feel from all the other stakeholders that are trying to minimize cost or minimize time to completion or so on. How do you break the ties, and how do you make decisions in those scenarios where you feel pressure? Well, if you look at the tenets of, and I have a link there at the top if you're curious of reading this in detail, but the important things that I want you to be aware of are that engineers, in the fulfillment of their professional duties, bullet point 1, have to hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. And what that means is whatever factors may be influencing your decisions as an engineer in your role, the first thing that you have to consider above all else is that no one gets hurt. Safety, health, and welfare of the public. In addition, performing services only in the areas of their competence. Hopefully after this lecture, you see why that is really important. The body of knowledge in engineering is incredibly diverse. We have all these different sub-disciplines, all these different areas of expertise, but the public may not know. They might just say, oh, he's an engineer, right? He can design a building, when in fact, you would not trust me at all to do any type of building design. And that's really important because you might say, well, you teach the statics class. Well, there's a difference between having a very in-depth understanding of Newtonian mechanics and the applications and so on, and actually doing. And that's kind of getting away from the engineering field of study, where you can have someone that has incredible levels of competence with respect to meeting the learning outcomes of the course. That doesn't mean that you necessarily want them to take a subset of those learning outcomes and a bunch of other courses and go necessarily work on some large-scale project. So that's the importance of that second bullet. Issuing public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. Again, there's going to be lots of pressures and conflict of interest from different stakeholders, like your boss, maybe the project funder, maybe the customer. We always have to be viewed as individuals that when they say something in their engineering capacity are only being truthful. Acting for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. Oftentimes you will be on projects that involve multiple clients or stakeholders. They may have a little bit of competing or conflict of interest, making sure that you are fully disclosing those conflicts of interest, and also not only dealing with that individual in such a manner that you're not compromising the relationship with another company. So don't, of course, not sharing trade secrets of one company to another, or any kind of information about what kind of projects company A may be bidding on to company B, and so on. Of course, avoiding deceptive acts, pretty self-explanatory. And the last one, conduct themselves honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully so as to enhance the honor, reputation, and usefulness of the profession. So kind of just concluding this lecture, as we mentioned earlier, when you think about engineering as a vocation, there's no clear definition. There's all these different sub-disciplines. But the one thing that we agree from that NSPE survey that we looked at earlier is that engineers are generally well respected by the public as educated and competent individuals. And when you carry that title with you, whether you have a professional engineering license or not, when you refer to yourself as an engineer, naturally there's going to be a certain amount of respect that's conferred on you. And that respect is based upon the aggregate accomplishments of all the engineering individuals that we looked at previously, like when we looked at the greatest accomplishments of engineers in the 20th century. And it only takes a little bit of time for you to help damage that reputation by doing things that aren't consistent with this ethical code. So always keep in mind that when you act as an engineer, you're not only speaking to your own ethical composition, but also kind of our entire discipline as well. So I hope that made sense, and you'll get an opportunity to look at that a little bit more in some of the assessments of the course.